Good morning, tubers. Welcome back for another adventure. I was out taking my morning walk and a neighbor approached me and asked if I wanted a free generator. And I said, oh yeah, I always find these things interesting to work on. He then describes it as they bought it for backup power, and when they went to use it, it was very hard to start. And he replaced it with another one. He actually popped for a Honda. He says this is only 1 year old and that he paid close to $1,000 for it. If he paid close to $1,000 for it, he really overpaid. This is one of those $500 Harbor Freight ones, $300 Harbor Freight ones. Given it's only 3,200 watts, you know, more like 300 than 500. Anyway, he had it stored under his deck. And unfortunately, it was in a container like this, and there was water in there. So, quite honestly, with all this corrosion, I have the feeling he drowned it. Literally. Pull string. So we're going to take a couple of minutes, get that cover off and see what's going on. Though some of you might be thinking, oh God, Harvey, you brought home another 100 pounds of scrap metal. I just happen to need this gas tank for one of my other units. It's leaky, and that gas tank looks real nice. So from the parts point of view, it's already winning the race. Obviously, a spare recoil is always nice to have, and God knows whatever else I could get off of it. But I just as soon see it start and run, right? So let's see what we could do once we get that recoil off. By the way, as a functional generator, I'm not sure I would ever trust this thing. You know, once you get them all wet, right, you're going to plug your $500 or $1,000, you know, TV, $1,200 refrigerator, or whatever else into this thing. After it's been drowned, you're not sure what the power's going to do, right? You're not sure if it's going to be stable. So, I mean, you have a $500 generator that cooks your thousands of dollars worth of home appliances. Not really a bright move, but anyway, let me get this opened up and see what it looks like inside. Always wise to start by looking at the oil. It's over full, but it doesn't look milky, which is a good sign. I wonder if the carburetor float was sticking, and it's full of gas. He also said the gas tank was full when he parked this thing, and it's like not full. So I'm wondering if he didn't have the float hanging up. Though the fuel valve, when I walked up to it, was off. So no, it wasn't off. It was, you know what, the fuel valve might have been on. Alright, that kind of explains a few things. Maybe it's just hydrolocked. Let's get that recoil off and see what's going on. Getting the recoil off is easy enough, right? Three bolts. Try not to drop them on the ground. And one more on the bottom. So the recoil is trying to turn it clockwise. Oh, not exactly great, but Check it out, maybe we fixed it. I'm not sure it has any compression, but maybe a little. Maybe there's just some rust on the flywheel it's fighting. Wouldn't it be a hoot if this thing started, ran and produced electricity? I like it. Well, I think it's all right. That might have just been a little rust on the flywheel or something. All right, next up, we'll get the recoil back on. I'm going to take the gas tank off and see what's going on with this carburetor. That's probably what it originally died of. Well, this thing is pretty nasty. I mean, it almost looks like it was used as a boat anchor. Anyhow, so I gotta get this carb off. I think I'm also, first though, let's pull this cover off, see how bad it looks in there. Well, believe it or not, I've seen much worse. You know, I think I'm gonna just fire up the compressor, blow some wind through here. This is what the back looked like. So I think with a good blowout, I don't know, maybe this thing will even produce electricity. So I pulled off the air cleaner and oil poured out of there, though I have to admit, when I put it on the dolly to bring it up to the garage to jet some air across it, I probably tilted it in a bad direction. Anyway, so it's all cleaned up the best I could, and I hit it with a little WD-40 in a few spots, just kind of in hoping that it's feeling a little better. Here, let's pull the plug. That's what the spark plug looks like. Actually, not too bad. I'm going to clean that up and put it back in. And if I pull the screen out, right, I can turn it over. So, you know what? I'm hoping more and more that we can bring this back to life. It'll be interesting. I've not had a submerged generator come back to life. I just, even if somebody leaves them outside in the weather for too long, especially the stuff made in China, it seems to catch corrosion and then it's dead. So I'm really curious if it's going to live. Carb removal time. You got to obviously take that out, take the oil-soaked air cleaner out. You got to take this plate off, and when you take the 2 bolts to take that plate off, the carburetor gets loose. You slide that out. You got to work the throttle off it and the spring. Right, not hard to do. Just pay attention, right, and use 2 hands and make sure that you have everything lined up properly and things come right apart. All right, so the carburetor is ready to come off, and we're going to do the usual. We're going to pop the bottom off of this, check out the needle valves and all that kind of stuff, the jets, make sure it's all nice and clean, right, push some solvent through it. Yeah, nothing too amazing here, right? We've cleaned a million carburetors. Well, it's a lot cleaner than I thought it would be. I wonder if this thing just had a bad spark plug, which is why it was such a fusser to start. So I took all the jets out. This guy here has a little black piece of plastic on top, so you pry that off. I spun it out. It was like 1 3/4 turns out, right? Took the one out the bottom, put solvent through everything. This carburetor actually looked pretty good. The main jet, the one center, and the one center hole was a little bit blocked on that little guy there. The center hole was just a little bit blocked. Other than that, it really looked pretty good. So what did I do? I pulled this needle valve and I jet a bunch of solvent through it. I pulled that out, made sure everything's clean. I ran solvent through it. If you look, I think you could see that hole right there. I made sure that was clear. All these other places and everywhere you can put solvent through, I basically put it through. So I think we're good. So I put it all back together again. It's ready for a start, right? You can see the carburetor's on there. I went with the gas tank. I'm out of gas here at the Horde. I had to use some of the expensive stuff. Anyway, so it's ready to start, right? It's going to be upside down, but it'll tell us if we're producing any power, right? I got the grinder there. So let's see what she's going to do. I think that's choke, right? On, right? Cold start. And let's hope for the best. Doing it one-handed here. How's that for confidence? Choke's off. Seems to be running. Remember, it's overflowing oil. I got nothing. I got nothing. I'm just going to let it run for a couple of minutes just for its own sake. Even though it's overfull, it's kind of splashing the oil around. Yeah, she seems to run okay, but she's not producing any juice. Believe it or not, that's a blessing. I just would not trust this alternator, not without being opened up and rebuilt and everything, you know, cleaned up really well. I just wouldn't trust this guy to power my stuff. I'm a little surprised that we didn't get 55 volt. We didn't get anything out of there. Yeah, I just kind of thought there was a little something. So now, what do I have here? I theoretically, well, this is part of the engine case, so unless I put another engine case on here, the engine's really not good for much of anything other than parts. That's a little unfortunate. But it does appear I have a decent carburetor, exhaust, muffler, recoil. And I told you guys I need the gas tank for a different generator project. I guess if I was kind of a dishonest person, I would get this into an auction somewhere, especially if it produced a little bit of electricity. If it produced any power at all, it would be like, you know, works, low hours, right? I mean, people could see the rust and make their own assumptions. By the way, this loose wire here, is for the motor part of the harness. The alternator part of the harness is hooked up. One could also sniff around, and I have another few generators in the hoard that I got from Kevin Bergeron. So I'm sure, I could add those to this and work my way up to something. I thought it would be interesting to see if one of these survived. I've had these engines get drowned before. I bought a bike, a Baja Warrior from Tractor Supply, and they had the engine drown. I'm not quite sure how they managed it, but the engine was submerged and seized. To the point where I had to take it apart and break the piston loose. It had rusted up. Anyway, I got that running again. So I always figured the engine would probably be savable. And once again, the alternator doesn't appear to be saved. And as I said, that might not be a very bad thing, right? After being submerged in the water and so forth, if you're not willing to take it all apart and go through every connection just to make sure the grounds are hooked up properly, you don't have corrosion on the wires such that they're going to break, and you end up with floating voltages and strange stuff going on there. If you're not willing to do all that, you really shouldn't put this generator alternator back into any kind of electrical service. Anyhow, in the meantime, I want to thank everybody for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember to keep your feet down, your heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.